What's the most messed up thing you saw in class? I went to a STEM magnet school. Some people were pretty competitive, but parents were worse. There was one girl whose parents wouldn't feed her if she didn't succeed academically. An A on a single quiz counted as not succeeding. My guidance counselor reported them and then Child Protective Services had to get involved. The only part we saw was that she was very, very skinny and basically stunted height-wise. In my Spanish class, I was in the second row in the back. There were two people next to me, one seat in front of the other. They would moan, curse, and just be weirdos. But one day while we were doing a lesson, the one in front reached his hand behind him and started giving a hand job to the guy behind him. I was in earshot, had to hear everything, and since I was not trying to make any enemies at the time, I just tried to ignore it. Our teacher had bad hearing and was focused on grading. So he didn't see what they were doing. They did eventually stop, but I can never remove that from my memory. Middle school. In 8th grade Spanish class there was a loud kid that couldn't keep his mouth shut. One day he was being loud and my Spanish teacher says something along the lines of, "Okay, enough is enough." She then pulls out a roll of duct tape. Before we all know it, she's wrapping it around his head and mouth. Never saw her again after that class. Her sweater even stayed on her chair for months. A special needs kid stabbed another kid in the hand with a pencil after the dude said his girlfriend that goes to another school wasn't real. Pencil went straight through his hand and everything. I had a charming young sign language teacher my junior year. She was super cute and funny, absolutely one of those teachers a lot of students crushed on. Her boyfriend was paralyzed from the waist down, some accident when he was a teenager. The nature of his accident meant he might someday walk again, I guess? But he was still a ways off from that. He comes to visit the class one day, and our teacher insists he show his progress towards learning to walk again. He clearly didn't want to, and at first she came off as just kind of overbearingly supportive. But it escalated, and she flat out bullied him into pushing himself out of his wheelchair and taking a couple fumbling steps before he fell over. And her laugh. It was so shrill and cruel. And she didn't even bother helping him back into his chair until he asked. Definitely the time an English teacher gave us an assignment to give a short speech on a moment that changed our lives. He didn't mean anything bad by it, he thought it'd be all inspirational. Nope, not that sort of high school. Speech topics included, the day I was raped, the day I tried crack, the day I found my dead parents after an overdose, the day my mom tried to murder me, the day my brother killed himself in front of me, on and on and on. After 5 or so the teacher stopped it and we spent a while just talking through stuff. We decided to continue the presentations, but everyone would be counted as getting an A on the assignment whether they chose to present or not. Anyone that wasn't comfortable listening could go to the library as a free period, and the school made counselors available to the class afterwards. The teacher helped the rape victim talk to the police also, and they got the other student that did it. Saw a female student take a river rock, about 3 to 4 inches around, and chuck it at a substitute's back. She knelt over in pain. Student got taken out by principal. I used to be friends with this girl in high school and her boyfriend committed suicide. After a week off school we were sitting in class about to do a test. Till one of the girls shouts out and laughs, "I heard you killed your boyfriend." My friend stands up, grabs her chair and swings it at the girl's face and then lays on top of her, punching the poop out of this girl. The teacher just stood there not knowing what to do. While the boys pulled her off and I dragged her outside. The girl had to get stitches and ended up missing teeth. I was in high school when the first iPhone came out, and so not everyone had one. A teacher I had was dating the school grounds man. A couple girls borrowed the teacher's iPhone to look something up on Google, but her boyfriend was texting her poop like, "I'm so sticky right now." So of course these girls passed the phone around the class and everyone saw the dirty texts between them. I saw a teacher lose her job over a slow kid named Sean. Sean was held back 2 years, was 12 years old in the 4th grade and was closing in on 6 feet tall already. Just a large kid all the way around. Their classroom was off of the library and I was in the library for some odd reason, but I heard yelling coming from the back of the library. As I got closer, I realized it was Sean and his teacher, hollering at each other rather heatedly. It all came to a head when he called her an old biatch. She was pushing 70 at this point, and she yelled back that she isn't going to take any more backtalk from a stupid N-word that can't even read. This was in front of her entire class, and now half the library. We all heard it. There was no getting around what she said. She was angry and meant every word. She wasn't there anymore after that. Sean lasted another few months before he took a swing at the gym teacher for calling a foul on him playing basketball. Not me, but an ex-boyfriend. In high school about 25 years ago in a really small town. One of the teachers had been exposed to Agent Orange as a soldier in Vietnam. Sometimes he would get horrible flashback episodes and he'd think he was still a soldier. When it rained he cancelled classes that could set him off. All the students and faculty and the parents knew about his flashback episodes. He told the students if he had an episode not to move, just wait in your seat until he comes out of it. One day he had a flashback in the middle of class. He's a soldier again, on the lookout for the Viet Cong. A girl student freaks out and tries to rush out of class. Big mistake. The teacher tackles her to the ground thinking she's the enemy. It took like 6 boys to pry their teacher off the girl. The teacher resigned the next day. In elementary/primary school, one kid got his house burned down. If I remember correctly, it was an accident, somebody left something on. So he didn't go to school that day and the school held a flash donation for him. When he came to school the next day, one of the teachers asked, "I heard something burned yesterday, what happened?" And the boy kept quiet, probably traumatized or just didn't want to share the details in front of 20 other kids. The teacher was clearly annoyed, so she kept asking the same thing and she said something like, "Well, something burned down yesterday, what was it? Was it your book? Your cat? Your butt?" I just thought it was a really mean thing to say after somebody lost everything in a fire. I sat next to a girl in my science class. She obviously had issues and would regularly pretend to be different animals in class. One day we were all sitting down getting on with our work when I heard a very strange sort of ripping noise coming from the right of where I was sitting. She had used a metal compass to slice her arms apart. Blood was everywhere, covering the table she was sitting at like something out of a horror movie. She then picked up her blood-soaked ruler and licked it clean, in front of the entire class, who by this point were all staring in absolute horror. She was taken out of school and we never saw her again. I will never get that image out of my head. 8th grade, we were running after a friend to give him birthday beats, nothing crazy, just like hitting his arms and legs. So he was running in the cafeteria and just collapsed. We just stood around not knowing what was going on. He quickly turned blue and everyone was panicking. Sadly, he passed away. Turns out he had a heart defect and it just stopped. Really unfortunate and sad. Worse that it was on his birthday. When I was about 8 years old, there was a girl in my class called Angela that nobody ever played with, and she was always shunned by the other girls. One day while Angela was absent from school, the teacher decided to address the issue and asked the class why nobody played with her. I had only just started at this school, so I wasn't too sure what the answer was going to be, but the other girls in the class ended up saying, "Nobody plays with Angela because she has nits." The teacher scoffed at this, and the next day when Angela returned to class, the teacher, in an attempt to put an end to the rumors and prove to everyone that Angela didn't have head lice, proceeded to check Angela's hair in front of the class. The teacher checked Angela's hair for a few seconds and announced to the class that unfortunately Angela did in fact have nits, but it was no reason to ostracize her. In 2nd grade, this girl stapled her finger just to see if it was possible. It was very possible. First week of freshman year in high school, we had assigned seats in one of my classes. One day my stubborn classmate refused to get up and go to his assigned seat, so he go into a tussle with our 5'2", 100 pounds teacher. She wasn't strong enough to get him out of the seat, so she started chalking him. Security had to rush in to separate the two. Kid number 1 gets angry with kid number 2. Kid number 1 stabs kid number 2 with a pen on his knee. Kid number 2 looks down to his knee, gets the item out and stabs kid number 1 with said pen in the arm. Kid number 1 gets the open out. Both kids start laughing. The teacher saw the whole thing and carried on like nothing happened.